how does one go about creating the ideal vineyard? So if one were to build a new vineyard, what conditions would be needed for it to produce the best wine? Now we know that to produce a successful vineyard requires much planning, resources, and efforts on the part of the owner, because once the vines are planted in the ground, it's actually very difficult to alter the vineyard. And hence, a landowner who wants to plant a vineyard has many things to get right. Now, the experts say that the first thing to consider when planting a vineyard is the location of the vineyard itself. So, a hillside is usually a better place for a vineyard than flat ground because it produces good drainage and has the space for sufficient airflow to limit potential issues caused by frost. And then there's also decent sun exposure throughout the growing season and a bit of wind to protect the grapes as well. Secondly, the experts say that a deep soil is preferred to rocky and infertile soil because the latter will only produce smaller vines. And finally, one needs to have the right vines for it to produce the right fruit in abundance. So the right vines have to be planted. We see that the vineyard which God planted in today's first reading and then referred to by Jesus in the Gospel contained all these important features. The vineyard that the prophet Isaiah speaks about is firstly, it's built on a hillside, not on flat ground. The stones have been cleared away on what was already fertile land, and choice vines have been planted in it. So the vineyard of the Lord has been set up with all the conditions needed for it to succeed. But that's not all. The landowner in today's gospel has not just built a vineyard on the ideal spot. He's also done everything to protect it as well. So he's built a fence around it and a tower to watch over it and to protect his vineyard. Then the landowner has also dug a wine press in the vineyard in anticipation of it producing much wine. So, despite setting up the vineyard in the ideal way, in the most perfect manner, God still wishes to share the produce with others, and he also wants to share such responsibilities with those that he loves as well. And hence, he hires tenants. And hence, the tenants who are leasing the vineyard also have a role in developing the vineyard. We, of course, by virtue of our baptism into Christ, become tenants in this vineyard of the Lord, which is our world and our society, the world that God created. We are given the responsibility to be co-workers with Christ, taking up his mission in the world. And in doing so, I think there are two important aspects that need to be considered and need to be put at the forefront of our minds as we take up our tenantship, if you like. The first is that tenants must always realize that they do not own the vineyard. Tenants may try to usurp a vineyard from its owner, just like those in today's parable who dealt harshly with the servants of the landowner and even violently against his own son. Also, in this case, it's similar to those who continue to ignore God and live as though he does not exist. But Jesus makes the point that the owner of the vineyard will eventually have the final say because he ultimately has the right to his vineyard. So even if one were to spoil the vineyard, the keystone would still remain. And from this basis, something can develop that will still produce the desired results. So no matter how we view the vineyard and how much we think we may be in charge, it still doesn't change the fact that the vineyard doesn't belong to the tenants, but to its owner. And so what we do has to be in reference to the creator, to the owner of the vineyard. The second point to notice, I think, is that tenants are called to contribute to the production of the vineyard. And therefore our work and what we do in this world and in society is not meant only for our individual benefit. Whatever work we do is a participation in the eternal work of God, who has created the world and wishes for it to produce the right fruit through our contribution. And hence we all have a responsibility to continue to learn and to grow and to deepen our faith and to work and to be active to promote and protect the sanctity of all life in this world. As St. Paul reminds the Philippians in today's second reading, we should fill our minds with everything that is true, everything that is noble, everything that is good and pure, everything that we love and honor, and everything that can be thought virtuous or worthy of praise. This is a sort of vineyard that we are all called to contribute towards as baptized sons and daughters of its owner. So if we live in a vineyard that has already been created by God, then we must work towards its final end, which is the ushering in of the kingdom of heaven. So may we always acknowledge God, first of all, as the creator of the vineyard, and seek to build the civilization that will produce the desired fruit.